The chair now yields 5 minutes to Mr. Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Secretary Mnuchin, thank you so much for coming over here. Appreciate your time. I wanted to just start with a question from a restaurant owner in my district. He asked me this question, and I promised him that I'd come down to D.C. and ask this to you. I wanted to just ask you, what does success mean to you when it comes to this economic recovery? What is the goal that you're trying to achieve, and the metrics and the measures of success that you're using to see if we're getting there?
Well, let me first say I think there's many measures of success. There's not a single measure, but one of the most important measures is getting everybody back to work who lost their jobs as a result of this. Another measure is to make sure that small businesses can succeed. Another measure is to make sure that we have money that our kids can go to school safely. So there are many measures, but I think on an economic standpoint, things like employment, retail sales, GDP are all important statistics.
Earlier this summer, the National Economic Council head, Larry Kudlow, stated, and I quote, "At the moment, the story looks very good. We're set for a V-shaped recovery." Mr. Secretary, would you say that the V-shaped recovery is achievable? Is that what it looks like is happening to you?
I think we are set for a very strong recovery. But let me just say that there are many industries and many small businesses that have been destroyed by this. And that's why I urge Congress, the House and the Senate, to move forward and let us provide help, especially for those hardest hit businesses.
I think the point that you just made is one that we need to linger on some more. So I wanted to just raise something here because I feel like the language coming from you and from this administration is not hitting at the urgency that we see out there right now. Many experts that I've talked to are warning about this K-shaped recovery rather than a V-shaped recovery. And if you look at just this chart back here, what it's showing is that when it comes to high wages, that a lot of the unemployment has bounced back. The employment has bounced back. It's about minus 0.5%. But when it comes to lower wages, we're looking at about negative 15.7% in terms of employment coming back on that front. So it's that inequality that is something that I'm concerned about, Mr. Secretary, here, is that I understand that there is momentum and progress in some parts of it, but I don't feel like that inequality is being addressed to the level that we need to. I just read through your testimony, I listened to your opening statements, and at no place are you mentioning the inequality that is happening in our recovery. So I just wanted to ask you again, looking at this chart behind me, does this look like the signs of a healthy recovery to you?
Well, I'm not familiar with the charts. I'd be more than happy to look at the numbers and get back to you. But what I would say I am familiar with is the services industries have been particularly hard hit. Many of the service industries do employ people at lower wages. So again, I can't verify the numbers, but I'm not surprised directionality. And again, I just want to assure you, the President, the entire administration thinks there is more work to be done. Let's not get lost on different letters of the alphabet. Let's move forward on a bipartisan basis on areas that we can agree upon, because there are clearly parts of the economy that need more work.
When it comes to this inequality that's built into this recovery, what concerns me is that if we don't seriously address it, that we could see this pandemic actually exacerbate this inequality in our nation. We had inequality well before this pandemic. I think you would agree with that. But what I worry about is the trajectory that we're on is something that could actually make America more unequal than it was before the pandemic. Is that a concern that you have?
Well, it's something we're focused on. And let me just say, one of the areas we've agreed upon on a bipartisan basis, Chair Waters, Chair Velasquez, Senator Warner, others, Crapo, is an idea to put $10 billion into CDFI banks that would create $100 billion of lending in areas that have been hardest hit and minorities in other areas. So again, I urge Congress needs to work to move forward, because there are areas we need to focus on.
And what I just urge you to consider here is that as you speak about the economy, as you're talking about it, whether in this chamber or elsewhere, on the media, elsewhere, is really try to continue to highlight that inequality that is built in there. I think your messaging has been too geared towards one that is only looking at a certain segment of America. And a lot of people in my district don't align with that, your comments aren't resonating with them because they are experiencing a tremendous amount of hurt right now. So I just ask for that continued attention and emphasis on that as we move ahead. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Chairman, back to you.